Welcome back to another project. In this project, we are going to create an anime Pics generator. As you can see from the final version of the project, we have a button here. As we click on the button, we are going to fetch data from an API that gives us a random anime picture and its name. So each time we click on the get anime, we see a loading effect first, and then we see a new image, a random image, and it's this anime's name. So you're going to learn how to use an API, how to fetch the API using try and catch method, and also how to add the loading effect like this before the data comes inside the browser. And also we're going to learn how to make this beautiful background color and this UI design using CSS. First thing first, in the next section, we're going to start with the HTML part of the project. So see you in the next section. All right, let's start our project. As you can see, I have put the final version here as our reference. As you can see, we just have a container with a button and a title saying anime pics generator. So when we click on this button, this is going to get the information from the API, and it's going to show us the image and the name of this image, the anime. So first thing first, we need to create the HTML part of our project. So I opened the Visual Studio Code, but you can use any text editor you like. So I create a new window and I close the current one. So I close the Get Started tab, and here we click on the file and click on the open folder to create a new folder and also choose that folder. I would like to create the project in my desktop, so I create the folder in my desktop. I choose here desktop. And here I click on the new folder to create a new folder. I named the project anime Pics generator. And I press enter. Generator, I missed the A here. So when we press the enter, the folder is created. Now we can click on the select folder to choose that folder. This is going to open that folder for us here. And here inside the Explorer section, we can add our files inside that folder that we have created. So we close the Get Started tab again, and here on the left side in the Explorer section, we click on this icon to create a new folder, a new file, and we call the file index.html, and we press enter. Now the file is created and it's open on the right side, which is completely empty, but we can use an exclamation mark to create an HTML boilerplate. So as you can see, we just put the exclamation mark and we see this auto suggestion. When we click on it, we see the boilerplate, which has the doc type, which is showing the type and the version of the HTML we are using. For HTML5, we just need to have HTML here. Then we have the HTML tag, which contains the head and the body tag. Here, the lang attribute defines the language of the page. And in our case, we choose the language to be English. But you can choose any language you prefer for your own website. Then we have the head tag, which includes the metadata tags and also the title tag. The metadata tags includes the first one is for the chart set and the characteristics of the characters. And UTF-8 is recommended by HTML5, which contains nearly all the characters and symbols. So the users won't have any problem seeing our website. Then we have another metadata tag, which is a compatibility metadata tag. And it just tells the Internet Explorer browser to use the most recent rendering engine, which is Edge. This is for the users who are using Internet Explorer. Then we have the viewport metadata tag. So this tag defines the width of the screen. For example, here, the width of the screen is equals to the device's screen. For example, if you have a mobile screen, your width of your screen, width of your content would be smaller than when you are using a computer or a desktop or laptop. Then we have the initial scale, which is the initial zoom level of the browser, and we just set it to be 100%. If you choose it, for example, 0.8, it's going to be 80%. Then we have the title tag, which shows the title of the browser. We can see it now if you open the browser. I'm using the live server extension. So when you have this extension, you see this go live at the bottom. When we click on it, it's going to open the website inside your default browser. My default browser is Chrome, and the title is document as we have inside the HTML file. So I just bring it on the right side of the browser so we can see the changes in real time. Let's close the Explorer section using Ctrl B. So now we have more space on the left side, and let's change the title. It's now just document. Let's change it to the name of our project, which is Anime Pics Generator. So as you can see, the title has been updated to Anime Pics Generator. So this live server extension is going to update the website inside the browser as we save our file inside the VS Code. So now we can just continue and make the HTML file similar to the one in the final version. In the final version, we have a container here, a main container. So let me draw and you can see. So we have a container here. Then we have a title. Then we have a button. And finally, we have another container for the image and the name of this anime. So this is another container because we want to remove this container once the person comes inside the website. And then when we click on the button, we want to see it. And then we have an image tag. So let me draw it with a different color. So and then we have an image tag, and also we have the name of the anime. So first we need to have this. We have this container that is covering everything. Then we have two things here. Then we have another container that covers both of the image and the name. Okay. For the container, we use the div. Div is just an empty tag, doesn't have any dimension. So inside the body, we add a div with a class of container. We can do that with just writing down dot container. And if we press enter, it's going to create a div with a class of container. This is just a shortcut using emmet. Then we have the h3 tag for the title, which is saying anime pics generator. We can copy this text from here and paste it here. Okay. After this h1 tag, so now we should see the anime pics generator in our website. Then we have a button. So we just add a button. This button, let's add some. So we just add a button. Button. And this is going to have a class of btn and also an ID of btn. So for the class, we add dot. For the ID, we add, ID of btn. For ID, we add hashtag. So now if you press enter, we see a button with the class of btn and ID of btn. And inside the button, we just say get anime. We should see it now here. Then, as I mentioned before, then we have a container that is covering both of the image and the name of the person. So we add another div with a class of anime dash container. Okay. And inside this div, we're going to have an image tag. So for the source, we don't have an alternative. That's fine. For the source, I'm just gonna I just search for anime image. I just choose one of them on the internet. I just choose the image, for example, this image. You can just right click and choose copy image address, and you just paste the link that you have copied inside the source of the image. So now you can see the anime image. The reason I have added this image, I want to style this in the next section. So we need to have an image to style the website. But later, using JavaScript, we always get the random image from the API. So we don't need to have any image. So we're going to remove this image later after styling the project. And after the image, we have this name of the artist. So we just add another h3 tag. So this was h1. We can change this one to h3 actually. We don't need it that much big actually. For this one, we add a h3 tag with a class of anime name. Okay. And inside that, we just write down anime name for now. So because we want to style it using CSS, but later this is going to be dynamic too using JavaScript. And also this image, it has a class as well. So let's add a class inside the image, and the name of the class would be anime-img. Okay. So that is fine, and that's it for the HTML file and the coding of our project. In the next section, we're going to style this website, this HTML using CSS, and we're going to achieve this beautiful UI for our project. So see you in the next section for the CSS part of the project. All right, in the last section, we have completed the HTML part of the project. We just put the title, the button, an image, and also another anime name tag, which is just an h3 tag. So now we want to install the project using CSS and achieve this UI, which has a background color. As you can see, it's just a start from blue to goes to yellow. Then we have a container with the box shadow. Then we just have a title. The button is styled, and also the image is styled to be circle and with this size. And also we have another container here with the artist name. The first thing we need to do is just create a CSS file. So here inside the VS Code, we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E, and here we just create another file and we call it a style.css. Before using the CSS, we need to add a link to the CSS file within the HTML file. So inside the index.html, just after the title tag here, we add a link tag. We just write link and we just click on the auto suggestion, the one with the CSS. This is going to create a link tag with the relationship between the HTML file and the CSS file. And the href here is the destination or address of this file, the style.css, because they are both located at the same folder. So we just need to have a style.css as the address. So now we can just close the Explorer section and just go to the style.css and start styling our project. The first things I want to do, I want to style the body section. As you can see, the body has a color, like a gradient color. We call it linear gradient. And everything is in the middle. So we need to use the display flex to bring everything to the center using justifies content center and align item center. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So now we just target the body section by just saying body, and we open a set of curly braces. First thing first, we remove the margin and we just set the margin to be 0. So there will be no space between these things and the wall of the browser. Then we can just change the background color. So we just say background. And as I mentioned, we want to have this color, which starts from blue and goes to the yellow from left to right. So in order to create that, we just need to use the linear gradient, and it goes from left to right. So we just write to right here. We add a comma. The first color is light blue. Okay. And the second color after comma is yellow. So now you can see the color. If I make it bigger, you can see it starts from blue and goes all the way to yellow. So you can choose any color you like. You can style it to right, to left, or anything suits you. And you can play with that one and makes your desired website. After that, we want to use display flex in order to bring them to the center. We change the display from block to flex. And also we need to have a height of 100% to bring them to the center vertically, because there is no defined height, so we cannot bring everything to the center vertically. So we set the height to be 100% of the viewport height. So it's always be 100%, no matter which zoom level or whatever it is, it's always 100%. Then we can use justify content center to bring them to the center horizontally. So you can see everything comes to the center. Then we can use align item center to bring everything to the center vertically. Because this image is so big, you cannot sense it. But as soon as we make this image smaller, you can see everything is in the center, both vertically and horizontally. So let's bring this one to the right side again. And also I want to change the, we cannot even see the text. Okay. So I can quickly just make the image smaller. So the image has the class of, if you remember, for the image, we added the class of anime-image. So we can target that one by just saying .anime image. And let me just make this one small. So we change the height to be 300 pixel and width to be 300 pixel as well. So now we can see that we have brought everything to the center. So I'm going to style it later and make it circle on whatever later. Just now I want to make it smaller so we can see the other changes inside the body section. The other things I want to do, I want to change the font of the text. So I just changed the font family to cursor new cursor monospace. This is up to you too. You can choose any text font family you like. Let me bring this one up. Then let's style this container. So now we want to style this container. You see the white container with the background white. So we want to create this container. So after the body, we target this container, this div with a class of container that is covering everything. So here we just say dot container. We want to change the background color to white, but I don't want to make it completely white. I just use the color called Alice blue, which is kind of white, but it's not completely white. It doesn't hurt the eyes. It's a kind of gray. Then we want to add a border radius of 10 pixels. This is going to add a rounded corner. And let's add a box shadow. So like a final version, we want to have a box shadow. So it brings up the container. So the box shadow, it has a few properties. And the first one is horizontal shadow. Then we have the vertical shadow. The horizontal shadow, we set it to be 0. So it doesn't go to the left or right. It just stays in the center. Then we have the 10 pixels. So as you can see now, we have 10 pixels shadow at the bottom. Then we have 20 pixels blurriness. So this is going to be like this. So as you can see, the left and right has a now shadow too. It's just a blur of the shadow. But the shadow is so dark, we can change that one by changing the color. So we choose an RGBA color, 000 for the black color, and then 0.3 for the transparency. So 30% transparency for the color. So as you can see, the shadow is very nice now. We want to bring all the text to the center. So we can use text align center. We bring everything to the center. Then we can add some space between the container and the stuff inside. We are using padding 10 pixels here. Then we want to set the width to be 450 pixels. This is going to be this size, and when we have a bigger screen, we have a 450 pixels too. But in the mobile size, if you open the DevTools using Ctrl+Shift+C, and if you choose this one, the mobile, you can see in the mobile size, the container is just connected to the wall here. In order to prevent that, we can just add a margin of 5 pixels. So it's going to add a space around that container. It's not going to connect to the wall. So now it's good for the mobile size as well. So let's bring it to the right side again. So that was it for the container part. Let's style this button here. So after that, we're going to target the button. The button has the class of btn. So we can target that just using .btn, and we add a set of curly braces. So now for the button, I want to add a background color of green. And then I want to change the color of the text of the button to be Alice blue. The button is a bit small, so we can just add some padding. Let's add some space between the text and the border. In the x-axis, in the top and bottom, you add 10 pixels, and for the left and right, we add 30 pixels. And also, we want to increase the size of the text. to be, for example, 16 pixels. Then let's add some space between the button and also the image. So we can just add a margin bottom of 30 pixels. And let's make this button as give it some like a border radius to make it rounded in the corners. So we just say border radius. We just add 6 pixels border radius, and when we hover over it, I want the mouse to have a pointer. So when we change the cursor to be pointer, so when we hover over it, we see a change inside the cursor. It goes from pointing to the pointing here. So normal to point. So you see a pointing hand here. So that was it for the button. The other things I want to do for the button, if you look at the final version, when we click and request, the buttons becomes gray and disabled, so we cannot request until the image loaded. You see? So we want to have a style for the disabled too. So here we just install the button and we just target the disabled. When it's disabled, we want to have a background color of gray. And also we want to set the cursor instead of pointer to be not allowed. So now it's just a normal button, but if you go to the index.html and make this button disabled, you see this is now gray, and also we cannot click on it because it's not allowed. Okay, so let's remove the disabled now, because later we're going to add this disabled using JavaScript. For now, we just make it as a default enabled. So that was it for the button. The next things we want to style is this image. So we already give the image height and width. Let's make it rounded using border radius 50%. This is make it rounded. And also I want to add some border around the image. So we just say border, the width of the border to be 3 pixels. I want it to be solid, so it's just a line. As you can see now, we can see the border, but it's just black. But I want it to be green. Okay. After this image, we're going to style this name, anime name. So the anime name, if you remember, the class is anime-name. So I copy this and I add a dot here and I paste it here. So now we can target and style it inside the CSS file. And we just say margin, we add a margin of 20 pixels. So we add some space between them. And it has a background color similar to this button. So we add a background color of green. Let's change the color of the text to be Alice blue. And let's add some padding of 20 pixels. So we add some space between them, or just 10 pixels would be fine now. And let's add a border radius. So we add a rounded border of 6 pixels. Let's make the size of the text bigger by using font size 17 pixels. And we actually made it smaller. So, and then we add the font weight of 600. So we make it like this. I think that is fine for the styling. Actually, I want to hide this one. So like the final version, when someone comes for the first time, they don't see the image and the name, and then they're going to be appeared. So for now, we can remove it by just targeting that anime container, this container. So we can just target that by adding a dot and anime container, and then we can just for now set the display to none. So this is going to remove that. But later, using JavaScript, we are going to dynamically show this anime container. When someone click for the first time, they get anime button. So that was it for the styling of the project using CSS. In the next section, we're going to add the functionality to the project using JavaScript. So see the next section for the JavaScript part of the project. All right, in the last section, we have completed the CSS part of the project. In this section, we're going to create the JavaScript file and add more functionality to the project. As you can see from the final version, when we click on the button, get anime, this is going to fetch some data and get the image and the name of the person. If the name is not available, you see sometimes unknown. And when we click, you see the loading, and here say updating, and also here we see loading as well. So we need to get the API as well, and we need to manipulate some stuff here. 4 elements we need to manipulate. First, we need to have this button. We need to change this image, and also we need to change this name. And also for this container, the anime container, we need to change the display. For example, now the display is none. When we have the information, we want to have the display different way. We want to have the display. This one is none. Sorry, this one is none. This one, the display is block. So we need to change the display from block to none, or none to block, and vice versa. So first things first, we need to create the JavaScript file. So we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E, and here on the left in the Explorer section, we create another file and we name it index.js. And like the one we did for the installed CSS, we need to add a link to the JavaScript file within the HTML code. Let's close the Explorer section using Ctrl-B. For linking to the JavaScript, we need to add a link at the end of the body tag because we need to have all the elements loaded and then we read the JavaScript code. So in order to have that link, we just use the script tag, and the script tag, we're going to use the second auto suggestion, the one with the src. Src is the destination of this file, and as both files are located in the same directory, so we just need to have the index.js as the source. Now we can use JavaScript in our project. So as I mentioned, 4 elements we need to bring inside the JavaScript. The elements includes the button. As you can see, we have the ID of btn. The another one is this image, and the last one is this h3 tag, and also we want this container all together. So for the button, we just create a constant and we just call it btn element, and this is going to be equal to document because we want to search a document, and we use the get element by ID and we write down btn. So the reason we use get element by ID is that because this button has the ID of btn, so we can target that ID by using the get element by ID. So we got the element now and we have it here. The next element we want to get is that container, this container, anime container. So I copy this, and as this is a class, not ID, first we write down the name of the constant. So we just say anime container element, and this is equal to document dot, because this is a class, this is not ID, we need to use a query selector. And because this is a class, we need to add a dot here and paste the name of the class. So dot anime dash container. So this is going to get that element and put it inside this variable. The next element we need is the image. So we just call it anime img element. And this is going to be equal to document dot query selector. And as it is a class, we just say dot anime dash img, as we have here, anime dash img. And the last one is this one, the anime dash name. So I copy this one, and here we just create another constant and we call it anime name element. And this is going to be equal to document dot query selector. And as it is a class, so we just say dot anime dash name. So for the first one, because it wasn't a class and we used the get element by ID, so we didn't add any dot or hashtag. Okay, so we have all the 4 elements. The things we want to do, we want to add an event listener to this button. So when we click on it, we want to call a function. That function is going to get the information from the API. as the one in the final version. So this one has an event listener, a click event listener. When we click on it, this is going to trigger a function that is going to get the information from the API. So let's add the event listener here. So we just say btn element, and we add the event listener by using add event listener. So we want to add an event listener that is going to be triggered by a click, and this one is going to call a function. We just create a function here, and this function we just create it completely. This is going to call that API. So let me show you which API we are using. So here in the Google, if you search for, let me see. So we have to search for a website called Catboys. Okay, Catboys API. So if you search for Catboys API on Google, in the search result, there is a website called catboys.com and /API. So if you click on this, this is going to show you all the APIs they have. So for example, if we write down https api.catboys.com /image, this is going to return a random image for us. Not only image, it gives you the URL of the image and the name of that artist. Okay, so let me try it here. We can try it. If you click on the try it now, you can try it yourself in your browser. So as you can see, each time you refresh the page, they give you a different image and different artist name, and also the URL. This is the one we want to use is this URL and this artist. So the URL is just an image. The artist is just the name of that character that we have. There's no need for the API key or other things for this website. Okay, let's go back to our website and let's continue. So in order to catch the API, in order to fetch the API, we want to use a JavaScript method called fetch. But because there is a possibility that the API returns, for example, an error, we need to catch that error. So in JavaScript, we always use a method called try and catch. So if you write down try, there is a suggestion here, try catch statement. And if you click on that, you see we have a try and catch the error. So this is going to help us. So when we fetch the data from an API and an error happens, we can catch the error and understand the error here. All right. So in order to get the result, we just create a constant called response, and this is going to fetch from the API. And the address for the API, if you look at the website Catboys, the base URL is api.catboys.com. So we can copy this and put it here. And /img is going to give us an image. So we just say img. All right. But this is just the response. We need to convert this one to a JSON. And the other things we need to do, if you look at the final version, if we click, until we are waiting, we see a loading effect. So how do we know that we are waiting for the response? There is a way to do it. So instead of just fetching the data, we just add a await here. When you add a await, let me write the await. This await is going to stop going to the next code until the fetching finished. All right. But in order to use the await, you need to change this function from the normal function to asynchronous function. So this is the rule of JavaScript. So anytime you use await, you need to change the function to asynchronous. It means that this function it has something inside it that you need. It's needed to be wait. So it has a waiting for one of the line at least. So we need to wait for the fetching. Also, we need to wait for converting this one to JSON file. So we can get the data here. Let me create a constant. We can make the data by awaiting for the response, and we change this response to JSON file by just adding the JSON method here. So now we can use this data. So if you console log the data, now let's see in our website, we open the console using F12. So let me go to the console here. And when we click on the get anime, as you can see, now we got the data. So we have console log the data. So we got the data. The data gives us the URL for the image. So if you copy this one and paste it here, this is an image, all right? And also we have the artist name, which is unknown for this particular image. So it has the URL here and also the artist. So these two things we need. And each time you click, you get a different one. So this time, the image, if you paste the image, it should be different because each time it gives you a random image. All right. So now we have the information inside the data. The things we need to do is just first thing first, we need to change the display of that container to block. So we see that container and then we need to change it. So let's delete this console log now. So we already got the data. Now we can, this anime, for example, first thing first, we need to change this one to anime container. So the anime container, we just change its style and we change the display. This should be style.display. We change the display to block instead of none. So now each time we click on get anime, we should see the container because we waited for the response and then the container from the none became block. Okay. Now we want to change this image. We want to change this image to the one that we are getting from the API, which is inside this data.url. So this anime image element, we change its src, the source, to data.url. So now you see that the image is different. So each time you get a different image. But we don't have any loading effect on other things. But some images comes faster, some images come slower. It depends on the internet speed. Let's change this anime name as well. So the anime name is easy too. So we just say anime name. That should be here. So anime name element, and we want to change its inner text to data.artist. So now this is unknown, but this one is unknown too, but this one is a different name. Okay. So it depends on the character, we get a different name. So we've done with this one. We also can catch the error and console log the error if an error happens. The other things we want to do is when we in the final version, when we click, first thing first, we actually disable the button so we cannot click again until the image comes. So it's not going to be too many requests. And instead of the image, we see a spinner. And instead of the name, we see updating when we are waiting. So we see the wait here. So before the wait, we can change for example, the button. So we just say button element and we change its disabled. Let me check. Disabled. We change the disabled from false to true. Okay. Now, if we click, it becomes disabled. All right. Now it's disabled. But when this fetching finished, we want to make this one enabled again, or we just make it false. All right. So when we request, it becomes disabled. But when the image and the text comes, it becomes enabled. So from disabled comes to, and also we want to make it disabled, and also we want to the text inside it. We just say inner text to be loading ... So like this. So when we click, you see loading. Now it's showing loading, but we need to bring it back again. So after the fetching, so we make it again get anime. All right. So when we click, it's loading, and then it comes back to get anime after the fetching. So I think you already got the idea. So we have two await here. So before the wait, we add the loading effect, and after the wait, we just bring them back to the normal. Okay. Now we can do it for the image and this name as well. So for the anime name, so anime name, So an anime name element, we want the inner text to be updating when we are waiting for the response. So now this is unknown. Just pay attention to this one. When we click, it's updating until the response comes. So the other thing is we need to add the loader. So for the loader, I want to get the loading from a website called loading.io. So if you search for loading.io, there is a website called loading.io. This website, you can get too many free loading effects. Some of them you need to pay, but most of them is free. You can search this for lots. There are a lot of icons and loading effects you can get for free. But the one I want to get is just this one, this circle one. The color I want to use is, I want to just use this one, the frozen one. And I want to make it smaller in the screen and the thickness to be smaller as well, like this. The background, I want it to be transparent. And the other things are okay. So I want to just download the SVG. So this website is free to use, to download. So you just click on the SVG and click on animated to download the animated section. So, and then you click on free download and click on download. Okay. So now I have the file. I just drag the file, and if we open the Explorer section and we paste it here. Okay. This is just the code. That's why it's very fast to be loaded. So it's not a file. SVG has a good things for your website because it's very fast to be loaded. And then I just want to change the name of the file to be a spinner.svg. Now let's close the Explorer section. So this image, anime image element.src, it was data.url. Okay. But the time that is being loaded at the top, instead of data.url, we just add that spinner. So we just say spinner.svg. Okay. Now, if we go to our website and we click, so each time we click on get anime, we see the spinner and the image comes. All right. So this is the way that people use for adding the loading effect in their website. So they use await. So the code stops until the answer comes. So if you don't use the await, it's going to request and goes to the next line. So it doesn't show you the loading effect actually. So you need to add await and also change the function to asynchronous. And before this request from the API, you make the you add your loading effect, and after the fetching, you're going to get the information from this fetching and put it here. But if an error happens, the other things we need to do is just change everything back to normal if an error happens. For example, the button and the inside the button is going to be this one, and also the anime name, instead of updating, we just say an error happened, please try again. So let me show you, for example, an error happens. Let's open the web developer tools using Ctrl+Shift+C, and we go to network. So let's first request now. If you go to network here, and instead of now we can change the internet speed. For example, you can make it slow, or even you can make yourself offline. So if you make it offline and request, so you get an error because there is no fetching happens. You can see that here we see an error happens, please try again. All right. And this also button again came back to the get anime, so you can try again, and each time you get an error. But if you go online again, you can have a request and get the image. So this is the time that you get an error inside your website, and you can catch the error and show the error to the user. All right. So that was it for our website. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. Actually, there was a lot of concept in this project, like fetching, try and catch, how to add the loading effects, and how to change the style using JavaScript. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. So see you in the next project.